Okay, there's an old saying, some of you guys know me, hear me say, you're either growing or dying in business and in life. There's no plateau, there's only a bell-shaped curve. So that applies to plants, trees, animals. Everybody grows, everybody dies. Nothing really stays like this. Okay, you're either moving up or you're moving down. In sales, especially in our world of storms, we created a storm life cycle. So through my experience, and this isn't applicable to fire, water, stuff like that, but typically exterior restoration, tornado, hail type activities usually have a 2-year claim period from date of loss. Sometimes you have a one year. But when's the party going on? Party's going on the first year. So as leaders, we have to understand that we are restricted, and no matter how much we want to make and do, by the bell-shaped curve. And if we understand, Joe referred to it, someone else called it a blitzkrieg. It is a blitzkrieg. When a storm hits, everybody's taking off the gate, trying to do the same thing, which is what? Mobilizing sales guys. 50 ads go up in Craigslist. Hey, we'll give you a truck, 50%, whatever. Guys are doing whatever they can do to get those warm bodies in, because he who inks the most contingency agreements the first 90 days wins the storm, period. That's really the game. I don't care if you've been in business in that area for 50 years. If a guy comes in from out of town and has 20 sales guys that can knock doors, and you're waiting for your phone to ring, what happens? He just became number one in the marketplace. He who's got 500 yard signs up, that's what people drive by every day and see. They're not glued to the yellow pages. Believe it or not, people don't study roofing companies to the extent that they know, hey, this guy's been in business this long. They see what's going on in the neighborhood, right? So he who inks the most contingency agreements in the first 90 days wins a storm. So the game is, how do we ramp up that team very quickly to meet our goals? And the key points, the reason I show this, there's 2 key points that I think on this growth curve that are important. One is the takeoff. That's obvious. If you have some systems in place before the takeoff, remember the Columbus, Ohio story? Well, holy cow, people say, you guys got lucky. Well, we did get lucky. We had the biggest hailstorm ever hit Columbus hit after we had 9 guys locked and loaded. That is lucky, but we were there, and we had a system in place, for sales anyways, not production. How can you guys get lucky? By some of the things we're talking about in the next 2 hours, having some semblance of a system in place, understanding those key positions, how to scale sales and marketing. Because if you don't even understand that, you're sitting here doing what everybody else does after the storm hits. Oh, throw some ads in, I've done it too. Warm bodies walk in, hey, you can walk, speak English, talk, you look okay. Let's go show you how to ink deals. I mean, because you're trying to ramp up your team, but you can do some things, guys, ahead of time. And now's the perfect time because it's March 12th, 13th, before storm season. Storm season's when? When's it all hit? Start in April, May, June. June. Where's Atlanta? Atlanta starts now in March. You guys in Atlanta, they usually get hit early. But guys, now's the time to think about these systems. That's my point. Now, as the storm progresses, here's what happens is. And we got to go to the next slide to explain it to you. Sales guys get tired. Sales guys, forming, storming, norming, and plateau. Sales guys hit a plateau because they go out as a sales guy, you go out, ink a bunch of deals, knock doors, you're all excited. You start going on adjustments and color selects and picking up checks. What's slowing down when you're doing that? New sales slows down. You don't notice at the company level because you're just starting to see the ACV checks rolling. So no wonder you're going, oh man, things are going great. ACV checks are rolling in. I got all these production problems. I can't think about anything else. What you should be thinking about is that wave slowed down a month ago. 3 months into that storm, when you guys hit here, the wave your new pipeline slowed down. So before it hits the plateau, when you still have the excitement, your next phase ramp up should be there. At the end of 90 days, you should start recycling and add a whole new sales team. Because once that momentum slows down in your office, you might not realize it, but if you figure it out here, it's too late. And now you're relying on those same 4 or 5 sales guys to determine the fate of your company and revenues and profits, right? And once the momentum, it's a psychology thing, but once the momentum slows down in a sales team, in an office, it becomes the mantra of the office. It's just not as exciting as it was in the first 90 days, and as leaders, it's your job to make it exciting, right? So the way to do that is before it hits that plateau and, here's the end of year 1. That's November, December, really. Back in August and September, you should be doing your second ramp up, possibly even July. I mean, you have to figure that out. For us, we never stopped. We did a phase 1 we did a phase one. You guys know I used to work with, we did a phase one every other week. Now, after a storm, the first 30 days, I'm gonna show you what a phase one looks like here in a minute, but we used to do a phase one every week after 30 days, religiously. After things, you can only do that so long because you got so many new bodies coming in. But after a while, we went to every other week, but we always did them once a month, all the way until November. So that's up to you as a leader to decide. But my point is, if you ramp up a team of 4 or 5 guys or even 10 guys, eventually they have their own individual bell-shaped curves, right? Everybody get that? People slow down naturally. It's the job as a leader. Now, there's small things you can do at the individual sales level, obviously, to get them to sell more. One's the vision statement exercise, right? One's comp plans, which we'll talk about in a little bit in a minute here. Positive and negative reinforcement. Make it really great to turn in a profitable job and hit a sales volume. Make it slightly not so great to be less than mediocre, right? And then you'll take a mediocre guy and he'll want to be better than mediocre. But if you just say, I'll give you 50 and 10, and there's no controls, there's no positives in here, but beyond that, there's no negatives, then you're going to have a mediocre sales line, unless you have a real superstar that's self-motivated. Sometimes you find those guys too. And then, of course, stock options. If we ever do a IPO, we give stock option sales guys, say, hey, we give you 10,000 shares, you cash out 2,000 shares a year, but you got to hit this sales level. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. And then leading by example, training. How many owners in here get out in the field and sell? Everybody should be raising their hands. Unless you're a Walmart CEO, we make money in the field. You don't have to knock 15 square comps, but you should be out engaged somehow once or twice a week in a sales process. How many owners get involved with training their sales guys in the office, in the field? Everybody should be raising their hands. This is our bread and butter. So if you're not doing that, you should start. Sales guys will follow what you do. They might not love you, but if they see what you're doing it and they see your field trainer and they see success, people follow success and boldness. Being an owner is not always a popularity contest, but you do have to prove what is possible out there. It's one thing to stand up in front of you guys and go, well, you can make $1 million. You could sell $1 million and make a couple $100,000. But you got to back that up and show that it can be done. So if you're not doing it, your field trainer, somebody has to be a superstar. So if you have a rock star, you should always think about developing one rock star on your team. And that's the guy you bring into phase one to tell success stories. He's the guy at the sales meeting. Hey, I signed this deal, and then back it up with real final caps and show people that the success, rather than just talk about it. Even better when the owner can do it once in a while, sharpen his sword. So, 2 things to break out of the bell-shaped curve. One is what? At the sales level, vision statements, all that. The other one is realizing that we can only push a human being so far, and some cannot. Here's the other thing, guys. Not everybody can be successful. You can give Rolex watches away. I've probably given 20 of them away in the last 10 years. Guys hit $1 million. You can give bonus away. I wrote a guy a check for $52,000 at the annual sales contest in Cabo one year for hitting $2 million. We gave him 2% of his total revenue back of off expense as a bonus. So whatever that is, I think it was close to 52,000. Guess what? That didn't motivate them to sell more the following year. Well, it motivated him to go start his own business. Took the 50 grand to get start his own business. Don't do that. Okay, but the Rolex watch, we used to give Rolex watches. Guys that used Chris and Tony Knoll, we gave away the Rolex. Geez, you still got one? Okay, how many Rolex watches we give away? Quite a few. Guess what? Everybody that got a Rolex watch in the last 10 years is a CEO of their own company right now. Now, I'm not saying I call it the Rolex curse. I call it the Rolex curse. It did motivate guys to hit $1 million in a calendar year, but it also did something to their egos, maybe some of the good systems and whatnot. But I'm getting off sidetracked here. But the idea is to understand this curve and put systems in place to grow your sales team and understand where that growth curve's at. And if you wait too long, the storm will be over. You can extend that growth curve out into the second year storm. It could look like this. If you bring in the next echelon of sales guys here, your growth curve can look like this. And that's how you go from 5 million to 10 million, or 10 million to 20 million. That requires mobilizing an entire new sales team on top of the one you have now. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So we call it the FTSC model. That's what SVG calls it anyways. Well, before we get it, it's easier to give birth than raise a living dead. How many people have heard that? Okay? At some point, you can only make a human being do so much. And it's like raising the living dead. So it's easier to raise a new sales team if you want to hit your goal sometimes than motivating people to do more than it's humanly possible. What's the first pillar of success we should focus on building our company? Sales and marketing, right. So this is called, now again, this is the way we did it. You guys don't have to do it this way. This is the SVG FTSC model. To scale as an owner. How many guys in here do face-to-face interviews with new sales recruits or gals? Pretty much everyone. Is it a lot of work after a storm? How many interviews do you do in a day? A lot to get guys, to figure out who. It's very, okay, you bring in guys in, if you bring an experienced guy, you're selling them on a company and a comp plan and all that stuff, but when you bring green beans in, and that's what this program is about. This program is about bringing a bunch of guys in at 35% and getting them to the 50% level, which means more money for your company and also scaling. This requires a sales coordinator and a field trader. Right here in the matrix. Now you don't need a sales manager. I don't like the word sales manager. I think of a guy that sits in an office all day and doesn't do anything. He's not a necessity. He is at 20 million, but to build that point, you need a field trainer or a sales coordinator. A field trainer gets out and works with the guys in the field. They help knock doors, sign deals, do adjustments, do color selects, sitting at 7 o'clock at the kitchen table, learn how to get an ACV check, all that kind of stuff. Do you owners like doing that stuff? Well, I do it. I don't love doing it at 7 o'clock. I'd rather find a guy that's like a good field trainer to help me do it because 10 guys is a lot to do it. It's taking away a lot of time. Now I'm working in my business instead of on my business. So that's what a field trainer does. He deals with everything in the field to help build that post-phase one sales team to success. We're going to talk about that in a little more detail later. But to get there, we need a sales coordinator. A sales coordinator, and I don't want no offense to the ladies here, but in my office is usually as a female because they happen to be more attentive to detail and they keep track of paperwork, and they can keep track of all these crazy men that are running their lives in amok and chaos. So I'm just saying, not to say a guy couldn't be a sales coordinator, but mine happened to be female. So again, no offense there. So a sales coordinator is doing the interviews, placing the ads. This isn't a person that requires a lot of money. They could range from $12, $15 an hour. It could be $10 an hour. It's someone that's doing all that administrative things to help you build a team. Administrating your IC agreement with your salespeople. Doing all the face-to-face interviews to see if they can even get on a ladder before they meet with you in your phase one. How many interviews you come in and people roll in and you know dang well they're not ever getting on a ladder because you couldn't tell over the phone. I mean, what do you want to spend 20 minutes of your time as an owner having that polite conversation before you tell them to get out of there? You know what I mean? So they weed out, a sales coordinator is going through a series of events. So this is called recruiting and sales mobilization. For a sales coordinator to get 5 to 10 good guys in a phase one, so our system's this. On Friday, we do a phase one sales training. It's called phase one sales orientation. Monday, Tuesday, and this is post-storm, so everything's speed. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that sales coordinator is interviewing. Well, hopefully she's generating 100 resumes a week. That's because this is all she does. And again, when you have one person, all they do is place ads, talk on the phone, weed people out, meet face-to-face, you will get a good sales team because that's all they do, versus you doing it the 1 hour a day when you're running between things going, oh yeah, let me go meet you for an interview and you're late. Owners shouldn't be doing that. That's an administrative lower function, okay? Not to say, hey, so we got to start somewhere. I used to do sales, face-to-face sales, but at some point you got to get that function underneath you. And it's an office administrative task. So booking new reps into phase one, doing the face-to-face interviews, helping you amass this team. And so, with my sales coordinators, I would do the first 10 interviews with them so they know how to weed people out and find the right people. Okay, but the other thing is sometimes you're having to sell that position. I mean, you get people in from sales interviews that they came out of real estate or they came out of a W-2 job from all walks of life that don't understand our business at all. And in that interview, you have about 5 minutes, 3 minutes to get their attention on what the hell it is we do. So the reason I gave you these visuals, when I train sales coordinators, which I do, because it's all about, you want to get the right people in your mix. You want to use visuals during that interview. Here's the storm. When I'm sitting across from you, here's how you get paid. You know how long it takes to explain to somebody that's not in construction insurance registration how the commissions work and how to get paid? It's a 20-minute conversation. If you create a simple visual, this is how you make $2,800. These are the 3 activities you have to do. You sign the job, ink the deal. It makes the interview process easier. And again, why? I know it's elementary, guys, but speed to market's the name of the game. If you can spend 5 to 10 minutes interview and explain this thing and how the commissions work versus a half an hour, you're going to generate more interest. People are visual, you know what I mean? And make those numbers seem more believable. And you say, hey, yeah, you're going to make $100,000 a year. add up 10 of those jobs or 20 of those jobs. You can sell it. You got to train your sales coordinator how to do that. Sales coordinator is also coordinating the daily blitz. We're going to talk about the 90-day blitz here in a moment, which is important to train all these people in. It's not easy training 10 new guys in how to knock doors, sign deals, do adjustments. It requires a system. And a lot of us do it, and I've done it too, out of, hey, go ride around with Joe. You got an adjustment? Here, go with Steve. I mean, that's okay. That's a knee-jerk reaction that we do because we have to. But it's better if we have a system in place ahead of time. And that's the 90-day blitz protocol, which is in your packet. We'll get there. So the sales coordinator is the go-to person in the office for everything. Pay requests. How many guys get asked for draws? Wouldn't you like to have a layer in between you where the draw request doesn't come to you and it goes to the sales coordinator? And she says, well, you only signed 10 contingency agreements this week, or excuse me, last 2 weeks. We can give you a $50, you have a system in place for why you draw instead of, hey, I'm out of gas, I can't pay my rent, you're the owner, so you feel bad. So you create that level of separation. I believe it's much less stressful, because we get a lot of those calls, don't we? They go to the sales coordinator. When they're hired, they're trained. You go to the sales coordinator. Okay, that's your mom. Or your daddy, if it's a guy. Setting up the war room. This is also a psychological thing. Before you attempt to mobilize the barbarian horde, you need to have something that attracts the barbarian. You need to have a war room. So when they walk into your office, you should have Joe talked about this earlier, but the big storm map on your wall. You should have, we have final caps on the wall so we can walk new recruits over and say, this is how jobs are capped out. We have sample supplements, supplement cheat sheets. We got, a little workstation if a guy wants to learn. We have a war room set up. So when you walk in there, we have quotes on the wall, the vision statements. It looks like we have a flat screen TV hanging on the wall, the weather channel's playing 24/7, that kind of thing. Coffee brewing. It looks like a war room, like you get excited just walking people through there. So before you even start and March is a good time to do it, you start your mobilization of your new team on top of your current team. You want to create something, war room. You have your marketing box ready, your contingency agreements, all that good stuff, okay, your yard signs, and you create a look that's motivating to work in. But your war room is also a training tool because it's got different things on the walls, like cap outs and how to do a supplement. And you create a whole training visual out of your war room. You guys with me? Maybe play some music in there, have beers at night. We used to do once a week. When I was at the Euclid JV last summer, once a week we would try to get guys to learn how to do supplements, which is, you only have time to do supplements between, 6:30 and 9 o'clock when you're hustling. So one night a week we'd have beer and pizza night and have the flat screen TV playing, the Weather Channel guys come and learn how to do supplements. And so, even new guys, brand new guys would come in and get excited, learn how to do a first supplement. Next, 2 weeks later, they're doing, they're turning 30% jobs into 40% just by watching other people do it and be involved. So there's little things you can do that in a war room to increase your training motivation. All right, where do we advertise for these people? Craigslist? Anybody advertise Roofer's Coffee Shop? You get most of the guys calling you off Roofer's Coffee Shop. That's a lot of phone time you got to spend there. They're doing all their marketing research on your SORM. You guys ever had those conversations? How big is it? Where is it hit? You give out too much information, you're feeding a competitor. So if you're going after green beans, you're not going to advertise Roofer's Coffee Shop. ZipRecruiter's a good one. That'll hit all the employment agencies in your town. You got to pay a little fee, much better than Craigslist. Nashville story. Where's the Nashville guys? Okay, I don't know, Tony Nolan here? I don't know if you were with us then, but Nashville, when we opened up there, we had a very hard time finding good sales recruits, even to come in for an interview. I don't know if it was a competitive nature or storms hadn't hit Nashville before, and people were like, I don't know what that means. There you go. So we literally were not filling up our phase one, which never happened before because we used pretty cool ads and stuff like that. So we went to a couple local community colleges. And this became our new recruiting thing later on, but most community colleges, smaller ones, have construction management degree programs, right? These are students that go study to learn how to do what? Estimate, diagram, project management. What is it our sales guys do? Estimate, diagram, project management, sell. So I went and talked to the head there, the head of the department, and said, look, we're looking to add about 10, 15 people. We call them project managers in that world, not salespeople. 10, 15 project managers as interns. I said, these guys are going to learn how to estimate, do diagrams, meet adjusters, and they can make money. It's commissions, you have to be honest. We create a whole little flyer out of it. And he goes, man, that's a great, these guys need some real world experience. He goes, can you come into my class? I got a class of 40 people on Tuesday evening, and you can pitch it. You can take as many as you want. So we went in with our sales coordinator, did a PowerPoint like this, and we added probably 12 salespeople. We're in phase 1 sales training on Friday, all excited because you know what? These guys are paying to go to school to learn what we do in sales. You guys with me? They're paying. And here you have a way to show them how to do it in the real world and get paid. Just a little trick, so you guys can take that one back to your cities. That became a major thing now, so when we opened up Storms, you know, we do the Craigslist and the ZipRecruiter and all that, but we immediately sent our sales coordinator into the local community college going after construction management degree programs. They're pretty loyal. They don't always make the best salespeople, but they're very detailed in their paperwork. They love the adjustment, estimating part, and they learn how to sell. Referrals, great source. You know, the best source for to build your team is having that one rock star on your team that has telling all his friends. He's driving a new truck. He's doing well. When I was a sales manager back in 2000 for that Chicago, Minnesota company, just by the virtue of being successful, you attract people. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know, all of a sudden you buy a new house in Minnetonka and $500 pool sticks. People want to know what the hell's going on. So I'm selling roofs, and they're like, what? And then they learn about it and they get into it, and that might have brought 20, 30 guys in the company right there. So having a rock star in a team is important. You want as a leader, you want to develop at least one rock star that you can use as a role model for the rest of the group. If you have a bunch of mediocre people on your team and no rock stars, guess what? You're going to have a bunch of mediocre people forever. So you got to focus on one. You got to make one. There's got to be at least one guy, and if you don't, then you got to be the guy. Okay, let's talk about the next most important thing. IC agreements. We're still on, part 1 is a whole training manual on the strategy of the FTSC model. Good question, because part 2 is where we're at right now, mobilizing the barbarian horde in your training packet. Yeah. The handouts don't really follow the PowerPoint, guys. Those are meant for you to take home and read. Those are very lengthy handouts about what it is I'm talking about. I can't go through the whole handout, but you can try to follow along with it a little bit. Better just to watch me up here. The last thing, real quick, on face-to-face sales interviews, something I noticed a lot of guys do, my own sales managers, JVs, different people. A lot of times we want to hire people so bad, as soon as they get in, we're like, hey, man, let me tell you about this opportunity. This is how much money you make. This, da-da-da-da. You should never start a sales interview like that. They should sell you on what and why the heck they should work for you in sales. And so always start by asking questions that qualifies them for the opportunity, not vice versa. They should be selling you, and then go into that stuff. And if they don't sell you, you shouldn't even pitch that stuff because you're wasting your time. And if you want to hire a salesman will come in and sell you on why he's supposed to be there. Okay? So if you start the interview selling them, you lost the game there, not just in negotiation of compensation, but really more or less you lost the game because you look needy. You don't want to look needy. You want them to sell you, and you want to suit their salesmanship. So just kind of remember that. If you're training sales coordinators, you want to eventually train that sales coordinator to do the same thing. Commissions, okay? You can do what you want with commissions. If you want to hire everybody at 50%, great. But if I would suggest if you're hiring new guys, and our phase 1 sales training system is about hiring new guys and developing them into effective salespeople, hopefully one day $1 million producers. We used to be pretty good at it. Still am, just through other companies now. But if you start a green guy out, should you start him at 50%? Does everybody agree on that? Okay. There's a difference between a brand new guy that was delivering pizzas yesterday and a guy that's been in the business 1 or 2 years. Okay, so you start them out and you give them a reason to grow. Just a suggestion, that could be 35%, but 35%, maybe it's $250,000. They do $250,000, $500,000. Did they learn stuff in that $250,000? Do you learn stuff as you sell $250,000? Yeah, by the time you do $250,000, you know how to estimate, do adjustments. You probably know some pretty strong basics. Eventually, they hit $1 million in sales. Maybe then they earn the 50%. Okay, I talked about this earlier, and you guys have a sales IC agreement, correct? In your files there? Do you have a sales IC agreement in one of those parts? In your inserts? You don't have to find it now, but there's a 10-page sales IC agreement that has all these rules in there. In over 12 years, that's one that's been effective at producing the end result, which is net profit and money for the company. But it has a lot of things in it like, If a job cap's below, maybe the number for you guys is 20%. If the job cap's at 15% profit after sales commissions, should a guy get paid the same as if it caps at 45% profit? Does anybody have a rule that differentiates between the two now in your packets, in your sales IC agreements? Just asking. So you pay a guy the same if it's at 5% profit as if it's at 40? John, I'm asking you. I'm just asking. If you do, keep doing it if you want, but there's if you want to become more profitable, if you want to produce more sales volume, you have to start as an owner. I know everybody wants to be popular with everybody, but as a business owner, you have to start thinking about making money and what's best for the company while being fair to the salesperson. And that's called internal controls. And so, hell, if you're the sales guy on this job and you're at 50%, and job capped at 42, I'm pretty happy I'm getting 56%, right? But if the job cap's at 22%, I'm probably not happy because in this situation, the max available commission is 30%. That's a positive negative reinforcement. It's just a thought. Here's another thing with IC agreements, and you'll see this in ours in a sample. Occasionally in storm chasing, top sales producers leave and jump to other storms, correct? Anybody have that happen before? Sales guy was rocking and rolling, all of a sudden he disappears off the face of the planet. Does anybody have that happen? Come back 3 months later and says, hey, what about those last 4 jobs I sold? What do you say? Let me just ask you a question. Is there a difference between a guy who sold, built, and collected the last check and a guy who sold and didn't do the adjustment, didn't do the contract select? Okay. So if there is, then you have to spell that out in your IC agreement. In a way we do it, we call it the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So if you ink the deal, knock the door, whatever, that's great. That's worth 1/3. This is the way we do it. Everybody can develop their own way. If you did the adjustment, got it bought, that's worth 1/3. If you did the contract, color select, picked up the check, and closed out the job, that's another 1/3. That's called third. If you have that spelled out in your IC agreement, then when you have a guy who disappears and comes back, or maybe another sales guy has to take his job over because he's not doing it, you have a very clear set of black and white rules on what a 1/3 commission reduction is. Does that make sense? It's totally fair in the world of business, but you have to have it in writing in your IC agreement. So in those IC agreements, you'll see stuff like that in there. If you don't, it's an ambiguous area, right? And then you're going to run into ambiguous issues. So sales coordinator recruits. She books in. What is she trying to do? She's trying to book them into what? Friday phase 1 sales orientation. Okay, this is the big day, the D day. Friday sales orientation is nothing more than like what we're doing right now. Well, hopefully, maybe you guys have 50 guys in your sales orientation, that'd be great. But a Friday sales orientation is for your leaders, like your field trainer and you, the owner. You only have so much time to get in front of, this gets back into the one-on-one face interviews. You only have so much time to get in front of a group of people and train them because you're running a business if you're trying to scale, right? So now your sales coordinator booked in, I don't know, maybe she's got, the good number is 6 to 8 people. In a Friday phase 1, that's a good number. What do you think she had to do to get 6 to 8 people in that phase 1? She probably had to look at 100 resumes. She probably had to do 40 to 50 phone interviews. And she probably did 15 to 20 face-to-face interviews to whittle down to get the right 6 to 8 people in that phase 1. And now you have a good core team to work with, right? It takes a lot of work to get the right 6 to 8 people. But now you as an owner are in front of 6 to 8 people that are qualified for the job. And now you got a block of time of 3 to 4 hours. To cover some of the fundamentals of phase 1. The first 2 hours of phase 1 is talking about commissions again. You got to show these guys how much money they're going to make. And not just, you can call it vision statements and visuals, but you got to breathe the life of motivation and commission. And the only way you're going to sell a guy to come work for you and knock doors and work till 9 o'clock is explaining exactly how much money they're going to make and what it's going to take to get there, right? So you need to have a strong PowerPoint of visuals. We don't have time to do that. I'm not going to do a PowerPoint phase 1. It's 60 slides. But if you guys are interested in that, come talk to me afterwards. I have a whole phase 1 PowerPoint that you show. You need to show how to do, all this stuff. What does storm damage look like? There's PowerPoint slides that can do that effectively in an hour or two. And in the last 2 hours of the phase 1 should be focused on inking the deal and what we call the 3 simple steps. So we talk about the commissions again. We show them how much money. First 90 days, you should sell 20 jobs at a $15,000 contract price and generate $300,000. That's minimum. First 90 days, that's doable, right? $300,000 for a new guy. Your average gross profit is going to be 30%. That's $100,000 gross profit. You're going to make $33,000 because you also became eligible for 3%. So you need to be able to spell that out and talk about that at phase one. Now, but you're an owner. You're talking to 6 to 8 people, not one-on-one. So you got time efficiency. Let's talk. What's that? Yeah, that's what 10% off the top, yeah. When we calculate GP on our precaps and final caps, it's assuming a 10% overhead allocation. So when we say 30%, it's really 40% margin. 30% after overhead and profit tax, or excuse me, overhead materials and labor. Real quick on contingency agreements. You guys have a sample of this in your folder as well. This is something I learned over a lot of attorneys here in the last year or two. Most of you guys are using a contingency agreement that looks like a construction contract. How many people here use a contingency agreement? Does it have warranty information on the back? Does it talk about 3-tab metal edging and all that stuff? What is it? Is it simple? A lot of guys actually use a construction, by mistake, they shouldn't be doing, they use a construction contract as a contingency agreement, and there's a difference. You know, a construction contract is a construction contract. You can't hold somebody on a contingency to a construction contract when it's written as a construction contract, but you can hold them to a contingency that's written as a contingency. As long as the back of your contingency says, we agree to enter into a building contract at said and said date after the adjustment. That's actually that language is in your handout there. But a contingency agreement should be very simple to train a green bean on. They don't need to know today about metal edging and felt and all that stuff. Well, if you only got 4 hours. Again, this is speed to market. They learn that in the field. You want to train them how to identify damage, write the scope of work down, and sign the deal. And you can train a guy in this contingency agreement like this in like 15 minutes because they're scoping a job, they're writing it down, but they don't need to learn all roof components on that, not to start selling. I didn't even know what drip edge was until 6 months after I started selling. I was like $1 million later. And then you learn all that stuff. It's a real story. I was like, what's metal edging? A homeowner would ask me, I'm like, well, it's the metal stuff around the edge of your roof. That's metal edging. What's ice and water shield? It's stuff that shields your roof against ice and water. Well, later on, you know, ice and water shield goes 6 feet up from the eaves and 3 feet in the valleys. That's code. You learn that, but you don't necessarily need to know that to sign a deal. Not initially. So your contingency agreement, how your contingency agreement is structured is important so that it's easy to train guys. And if you have a bunch of stuff in there like warranty information and payments and there's a cancellation on the back of this for 15% as well, but it makes it harder to train a new guy. You're trying to ramp up guys and train them to get out there and do what? Ink as many contingency agreements as humanly possible in the next 90 days because that's who wins the storm, right? Who wins momentum in the first 90 days wins the storm. That momentum carries over. Who gets the most yard signs up wins. Unless the owner gets hit by a bus, then what happens? Now, when we train guys, and it's down to nitty-gritty stuff, because a new sales guy oftentimes will forget what to say unless a field trainer's holding his hand. So we create a thing called the 3 simple steps. So the whole thing about phase 1 sales training in the last 2 hours is we team guys up in 2. Don't worry, we'll make you guys do this today. And we do the pitch in front of them. You know, hey, Mrs. Smith, we're out doing free roof inspections. If you have storm damage from the March 12th storm, your insurance company may be obligated to pay for such damage. It's a free inspection, takes 10 minutes. I'll fill out a damage report for you. You can send to your insurance. So there's a whole sales pitch that goes into that. I think you guys all know the drill. But the 3 simple steps reinforces that sales pitch. And so we teach guys how to simply fill out that simple agreement and always give the property in the 3 simple steps, and of course attempt to file the claim on site, if possible. With the 3 simple steps reinforces the sales pitch. File a claim, sign our standard contingency agreement, we'll meet the adjuster out here, et cetera. Now, that might seem simple enough, but if you don't have a 3 simple steps with a new guy in his folder, he will forget what to say and forget to file a claim. So this reinforces the act of why somebody should sign a contingency agreement, okay? I know it's simple stuff. You know what? It's the simple little details. That's the difference between a guy that makes $100,000 a year and $1 million a year is the details that they follow. It's all these little things in your system, okay? The last part of phase 1 after we do skit training, so when we do skit training, we break up the guys in teams of 2. They go off in the corner of the room, and they practice the sales pitch and signing the deal over and over again. And then we ask for volunteers. We usually do like $100 for the best presentation. So the phase one really ends at about 4 o'clock. And it's guys that are just brand new, that just got motivated about money, learned about commissions. They practice that pitch over and over again in teams of 2. They pitched in front of the group, which is not easy to do. They're just walking off the street for phase one. They've never even pitched this before, and they're standing up in front of their peers and doing a sales pitch in a 2-person skit. It's called skit training. So skit training, and then we follow up with a vision statement at the end. Okay, so the vision statement is what we did earlier. Everybody remember that, correct? Everybody sleeping out there? The vision statement? So they're leaving there with this idea in their head of how much the money they can make. They know how to sign a deal. They're capable of actually going up to a homeowner, knocking the door, pitching it, and inking a deal. Do they still need their hand held in the field? Yes. But they're comfortable with the conversation. And if you can do that with a group of 6 to 8 guys on a Friday, guess what happens Saturday morning? Blitzkrieg. This is where your field trainer comes in handy for your owners that don't like to work Saturdays. How many owners here work Saturdays? Well, I'll tell you what, from April to November, every owner should be working every other Saturday, along with any kind of field trainer or sales management team, because Saturdays is our day in residential, unless you're full-time commercial. You ever gauge how many deals are signed on a Saturday versus a Wednesday night? When you get a whole team out there, it's exponentially higher. So Saturday is a huge day. So just a suggestion, I would suggest if you do hire a field trainer, you include it in their comp plan from the beginning that they're going to work every other Saturday on some kind of schedule. Everybody familiar with the German Blitzkrieg? That's why they won the first 3 years of World War II. Eventually, the Russians used it against them, but it worked pretty good for the first 3 years. Okay, the first 10 days after a phase one is critical for a new sales guy. This is a 240-hour checklist. So a brand new guy comes through our phase one, he's all pumped up, and I've seen this happen. A guy's all pumped up, he leaves phase one, and there's no training plan in place that next week for him. Guess what happens to a new sales guy after leaving phase one? It doesn't ink his first deal in the next 72 hours. 50% attrition. So the job of the leader, the owner, and you got to do this yourself if you don't have a field trainer, is you need to ensure they have an immediate success in the field. I don't care if you ink the deal for them. You got to spread that love immediately to someone who comes out of phase one. So you need to have a system in place. We try to have the system in place where they sign their first deal the next day. So we usually save some leads up from the previous week and send them out with a field trainer and say, let's get this guy on board, sign his first deal with him. You can do little things like that. But also, definitely within that first week, we call it the 240-hour checklist. You want to make sure all these things happen. You can't do that as an owner with 10 guys, can you? That's a lot of stuff to do, right? So you're going to need that field trainer. This is why when you're talking about scaling, it's one thing to say, yeah, I'm going to hire 20 sales guys. If you don't have a dedicated field trainer or sales manager, you're going to lose half of them in that first week. This is a nice checklist for a sales guy and a field trainer to go through of what they need to do in that first week. Because if you do that and they sign their first deal, you're more likely going to retain them. Make sense? Technically, they're an independent contractor, but most of us do things like give them cameras and help them out and ladders because we're gullible, generous owners. Okay, this is a good checklist for your sales coordinator to follow. And again, these are all little things in a system, guys. It's all the little details of a system that make a system. And once that system's in place, the written plan, that's all the written stuff that you guys typed up, then you have a system. And when your leadership understands a system and it works, then you have company culture. And when you have that, sky's the limit. Field trainer responsibilities, train the trainer. So your field trainer's got to be a fire starter. Sales manager's dead. I just don't like the word sales manager. Every sales manager I ever hired didn't work out too long. Some of them were good. Tony Noah was one of the best. But the sales manager you have this idea that a sales manager sits in the office and looks at sales charts and all that. That's like a VP of sales. That's like a $20, $30 million company. But when you're starting out trying to get there, you want a fire starter in the field. Your field trainer has to be someone that's very good at what? He's got to be good at selling. So he can't be a bean counter in the office that's good at necessarily managing people. Well, he's got to manage somewhat. But your combination of your sales coordinator and your field trainer, that allows your field trainer to also have some leeway to sell his own jobs. Now, some people restrict their field trainer from selling. That's up to you. But having a fire starter in a field that's leading by example is a huge difference between PowerPointing someone and telling them to go out and sign some deals. Huge. And if you can get that right fire starter on your team and a good sales coordinator, Sky's the limit. 10, 15, 20 sales guys, it's a pump and a prime. It's a beautiful thing when it's happening. You can step back and kind of cheerlead and jump in at the phase one once in a while as an owner. That's a good thing when you get that set up. The whole goal of the phase one is to do what? Get guys comfortable signing contingency agreements. You're not teaching estimating. You're not teaching software. You're not teaching roof components to any major extent. You're certainly not teaching accounts receivables. What happens if you told all the guys about that in phase one? What do you think they'd do? They say, I'm getting the hell out of here. This sounds complicated. You just want to teach a guy how to ink contingency. That's all he should leave thinking about. Put a little draw program bonus. Every contingency agreement you sign, you get $100 next Friday. We used to do first week, sign at least 3 deals, get $100 per deal, draw, and you bring back your vision statement laminated next Friday. You get $500. We call it $500. You could call it $500 a week paid training in your advertisement, but they got to work for it. They got to do something for it. But when you get a group of guys and all they care about is going out, they don't know about adjustments yet. They know they're coming up, but they don't know all the details involved. All they care about is what? Inking deals. As an owner, what do you care about first 90 days? Inking deals. He who inks the most contingency agreements first 90 days wins the war. Now the field trainer, once those deals start commencing, then adjustments pop up, then color selects. That's a lot of training work for new people. So you absolutely have to have a strong field trainer in that regard. So it's a simple scaling system, guys, to create a layer underneath you to help you double or triple your sales team without you pulling your hair out and killing yourself from all the chaos and management. I'm talking 3 or 4 guys is easy. Do 14, 15, 20 guys. That's a lot. It's a lot of admin, follow-up, training. You have to have a team underneath you to do that. So a lot of you guys came here, I want to learn how to double, triple my revenues. If you want to double or triple your revenues, you got to skill your system and your team underneath you. You got to put those positions. In those packets is a field trainer position description, bullet point per bullet point, what they do, and a sales coordinator. So you can use those to create ads and hire people and train them, and then you got the whole system there how to do it. "90-day blitz protocol." If you guys can pull that out, this is your last packet. The last packet is post-phase one. Post-phase one. Part 4. Yeah. It's Minnesota. Still got the Minnesota accent. Okay, in the post-phase one is a field trainer position and description, right? Exactly what he does on a day-to-day basis, or she. You can hire a female, nothing wrong with hiring a female field trainer, high speed. Our top sale, we had a gal do a couple years ago, $1 million in sales. You guys would be wise to hire some females on your sales teams too, because if they outperform the males, which they actually could outsell a guy any day of the week. Sometimes they have a little difficulty on ladders and stuff, but we've had some success in mixing in a lot of different folks. Okay, guys, so field trainer, 90-day blitz protocol is the second page. Everybody got that? You got one? Everybody got it? Anybody not have it? If you're an owner and you don't want to have to micromanage your field daily, like you will, where's so-and-so? How's so-and-so getting trained? What? Oh. You want to implement the 90-day blitz protocol in your office. Okay? It's about an 8-page scenario of how to set one up. And what it means is that first 90 days is crucial because he who inks the most contingency agreement wins the war, right? Everybody agree with that? So this is a system, if you change, you turn a page here, how you set up the blitz on your wall. It's a set schedule. We use Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday, you can't do it every day. Mondays and Fridays sometimes people don't like to work. Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., you meet for breakfast, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. is a blitz. So this is a set system in place for 90 days. And a sales coordinator and field trainer, their compensation, it's not just, hey guys, do a blitz. Hey guys, we should do a blitz. It's not how it is. It's a business system. This is part of your compensation. To keep your job and your 30-day review, you will execute a blitz per this schedule, and it's up on a wall. And who participates in a blitz is gauged weekly. This is how you train all your new guys in for those 90 days. So now the new guys that come in, instead of going, hey, I don't know, how do I get trained in? Who do I work with? They know, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 3 o'clock, they show up at the office, and they're going to go out and learn how to sign deals, and they're going to get set in the right areas to work. The biggest complaint I hear from new salespeople that are lost in the sauce when I go out to some of these joint ventures, you ride around, is, man, I don't even know where to work. Nobody's really telling me where the damage is, and you got to bring these guys into the land of milk and honey when they're new, right? So the blitz, the field trainer's job in the blitz is to bring these guys in, hopefully in small groups of 2 or 3, and blitz a neighborhood, because dominating a neighborhood is effective, correct? Putting 10-yard signs up. Anybody ever done that? It's a good feeling seeing about 20, 30, you're rolling through as an owner, you see 20, 30 of your signs up in a 5-block area. It feels good. You dominated the neighborhood. You won the battle, not the war, but you won the battle. So the blitz becomes part of your corporate culture. Now, you don't do this all year long. You do this for 90 days. It's intense. People have to commit to it. You get your field trainer, sales coordinator. Your sales coordinator has to gauge the results of the blitz. If you look at the end of this thing, there's actually a weekly pipeline report generated every Monday by the sales coordinator that said who went out on the blitz, what were the results of the blitz. Now, MaxCon has a great program to monitor some of this data, but you got to put the system in place as leaders before you can use software to manage anything. Software is great, guys. You can manage and track a lot of your data, but as leaders and owners, you got to own and put the system in place. Cool bells and whistles aren't going to make sales. You got to put that system in place, and then you can gauge that performance. Well, that's just a weekly pipeline report, and then MaxCon also does stuff like that too. But now you get that, as an owner, you get that weekly pipeline report every Monday. Now you know your field trainer's working. If you only see his name on one of those blitzes, he's not doing his job. And now all the new guys that come through phase 1, instead of them going, hey, when can I go out and do a ride-along? 3 o'clock, go look at the blitz board. That's your training board. And so now you have a training system in place where you don't have to micromanage it. Once it's set as culture, right? It has to become culture. What will happen when you implement these 2 things? The sales coordinator, the blitz, and it becomes culture. Your job as an owner is now a cheerleader and a spot checker. Because you're showing up at phase 1, the PowerPoint's set up by your sales coordinator. She's already explained IC agreements and admin stuff, and you run in, you got your field trainer. Hey guys, we just got out of the field, we just got an apartment building bought, and here's some success stories. Let me tell you how this all works. And you follow your PowerPoint slides, and you have them break through their skit training, and people follow, examples that are exciting, bold, and success stories, So, and then you have a plan in place to get them out in the field on Saturday, sign their first deal, and then you have this whole 90-day plan out where guys can jump into the mix and you dominate areas. So these 2 things, guys, as simple as they are, if you make them a system, that's how you double or triple your revenues. And we've done this. This is the whole way we grew our company over 12 years, to be honest. We did it religiously. Phase 1s, blitzes, and vision statements, okay? Some other things about the blitz protocol. When you do a blitz, you don't put 10 guys out in the street and everybody knock doors. That's not a blitz. That's a cluster. F you know what. But small teams, 2 to 3 guys in a blitz is effective in a neighborhood. Your field trainer takes a truck out, puts 2 guys in a truck, and they, orchestrate a well-orchestrated blitz. That's how it should go. So you can manage those kind of details when your field trainer should manage those when he sets up the blitz. Tracking blitz results for the pipeline report is important. Your field trainer or sales coordinator have to know that they're being tracked. Your leaders, and anybody in life, is only going to perform well when they know they're being tracked. So you have to have some kind of pipeline report, whether it's like CRM technology like MaxCon, but even just a simple spreadsheet. And people know on Monday you're looking at it is gonna cause some more accountability, amongst your team. Once the system is in place on the wall, literally part of company culture, your days of micromanagement folks are over. The plan is up on the board, so it becomes part of your culture as a team.